Hey guys, thanks for joining me in another video. My name is Mike, and if you watch my videos, you know the purpose is to educate you on all things business insurance, while at the same time giving you tips and advice to help you improve your risk management, your compliance, your employee wellness, and your human resources to help you become a safer, more educated business, lowering your total cost of risk and increasing your company's bottom line. Today, in the video I'm going to speak about, I want you to keep in mind that we do work on both sides of these contracts. So we're going to talk about 4 endorsements that you may see in construction contracts that relate to insurance. And what I mean by we work on both sides is we help some contractors comply with these types of insurance contracts or requirements. We also help property owners, landlords, and general contractors build insurance requirements or insurance contracts so that they receive the coverage that we're going to talk about to better protect them. Both sides, right? From the subcontractor's perspective, a lot of our clients come to us and say, hey, I'm trying to get this job, I'm trying to work with this client, but there's these items in our contract that I'm not really familiar with. Can you read it over? Can you help us explain? Sure. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about 4 particular endorsements that are required or requested often in insurance contracts for construction. Our general construction clients may also receive these types of requirements from municipalities, from larger contractors, from property owners. So it doesn't just pertain to subs, but also if for our clients that are generals, we can help put these items in place so that you're better protected on jobs. The 4 endorsements we're going to speak about today. Number 1, primary and non-contributory wording. What does it mean? What is it? And how do you achieve it? 2, waiver of subrogations. 3, per project aggregate endorsement. And 4, completed operations endorsement as part of the additional insured language. Okay, now let's start with primary and non-contributory wording. When you're required to issue an additional insured as a sub, or if you're collecting additional insureds as a general, you may have a subcontract agreement or a construction agreement that requires primary and non-contributory wording. This is wording that's used in the event that more than one insurance policy may be at risk in a claim. More than one insurance policy could potentially be triggered in a loss. The party that's providing primary wording and non-contributory wording is essentially stating that that insurance company is going to be primary on the loss or on the claim where more than one insurance policy could be involved. It also states that that insurance carrier will not come back and ask the other carrier involved to contribute to the loss if their policy is primary and non-contributory. So let's just go back to the example of a sub and a general contractor. So what does that mean? Let's say a general contractor hires a subcontractor on a project. There's a loss. The subcontractor's insurance policy or additional insured endorsement contains primary and non-contributory wording. Their insurance will be primary on the claim and on the loss, and they will not ask the general contractor's policy to contribute to that loss or claim in any way. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what if the other party's insurance that was not primary and non-contributory on the project, what if that party was negligent? Well, that goes back to contracts. I don't want to get too deep into sole negligence and all the different types of negligence that could be involved in a contract. But again, read your contract, understand where your liabilities are or where they fall. For today, for the purpose of this video, I'm simply speaking about the primary and non-contributory wording. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do I get that? I should say most policies now most likely have automatic additional insured status that includes primary wording and non-contributory language. If you don't have it in your policy, it could cost you money, maybe $100, maybe $250, sometimes a little more to get that endorsement from your insurance company. If the party asking for the endorsement will not accept the automatic status or a blanket additional insured, then you're going to have to go back and ask your carrier for a specific additional insured, and that will cost you money. So understanding this before you get into your bidding, before you put out your proposals is important. Also, if you're the general and you're looking to obviously improve your risk transfers and better protect your company, this is the type of language, or these are some examples of what you can put in your contract to better protect you and keep your insurance history clean. 2 is the waiver of subrogation. A little more straightforward. Waiver of subrogation also is pretty common on general liability policies or liability contracts, but also in workers' compensation or on workers' compensation employers' liability policies, where the carrier providing the waiver of subrogation is waiving their right to subrogate any loss against the other party's insurance policy or work comp policies. Or even, in some cases, it could even be to subrogate against a general liability policy. Let's say a general hires a subcontractor on a job, subcontractor's employee gets hurt on the job, subcontractor's contractor's workers' compensation policy triggers, pays medical, pays indemnity for that employee's injuries. Once the carrier responds to the loss, in this case the work comp carrier, they are not going to subrogate against the general contractor's workers' compensation carrier to recover or subrogate any of that loss. Same goes for property owners. This is probably pretty big for property owners. A lot of times on commercial jobs or jobs that have large property managers, the property manager, the landlord, will request waiver of subrogation. This way, if there's an injury on their property, the insurance carrier that paid out for the work comp loss is not going to come back against them to recover for that loss. Waiver of subrogation. Same applies for general liability. Again, some are blanketed, some you have to get for specifics. For the work comp, it's going to cost you, if it's a blanket waiver of subrogation, it's going to cost you in your net rate or your rating basis. You're going to pay for it as you go. Sometimes it's $250 to get a specific waiver. General liability, again, most policies today will have the blanket waivers, but you may have to request one for a specific job, and that could cost you some additional premium. Third is the per project aggregate endorsement. What does that mean? Well, as you know, a general aggregate on your insurance policy, let's talk about general liability. Your aggregate limit is the most your carrier will pay for the combination of all losses during your policy term. So let's say you have a $1 million occurrence, $2 million aggregate limit. If you have two $1 million claims in the same year, that falls within your occurrence limit, so they're covered, right, for $1 million. And the combination of both is $2 million, so that falls within your aggregate limit, so potentially the payout is there for both claims. Let's say you have three $500,000 claims. Because each claim is under your $1 million occurrence and the total of $1.5 million under the $2 million aggregate, limits are there. Limits have not been exhausted. Now, sometimes you might get on a project where they say, well, we want your aggregate limit for this project specifically. We want it set aside to be so that your aggregate pertains to this project, meaning it won't get exhausted from any other losses during your policy term. Well, that's achievable. That's something that insurance policies or carriers provide because of contractual requirements. You're contractually required to have a per project aggregate limit. It's going to cost you money. Some carriers will put them in the policy, will provide them in the policy as an endorsement. Most of the times that's for some of the larger insurance programs out there. But in some cases, if you're a subcontractor, you have a smaller policy or you have a regular practice policy and you don't have per project aggregate, you will need to purchase that from your insurance carrier to meet the requirements of the job. Again, coming from the perspective of a general contractor, right? Because again, we work with generals, we help them become safer in their insurance requirements so that they're hiring subcontractors, and that as a general contractor, you don't want to be liable, or you could be held liable, but you want to make sure that you have indemnification from the work being performed on your job by subs. Per project aggregate can really help because now you know that your subs are coming onto your job with full aggregate limits. They have aggregate limits set aside for your project, so their limit can't be exhausted from losses on other jobs. Last one, final, but probably the one that comes up the most, that people get most confused by. And if you look here on my YouTube channel, you'll see that I have videos specifically speaking about completed operations endorsements as part of the additional insured language. I talk about 1185 endorsements as one of the more commonly used terms in the industry. That endorsement, which is a broad form, November 1985 written ISO language endorsement that provides completed operations language to the additional insured, not just ongoing operations. Now some of those endorsement numbers have changed. We see the CG 2037 commonly, but what it means is that the subcontractor or the party providing the additional insured status to the additional insured is providing that language or that status not only for the ongoing operations, so not only for the time that they're on the project doing the work, but also when the project is complete and turned over to the property owner or the general or whoever's responsible for the completed part of that project, that they also have additional insured status on the completed operations. A lot of times in construction, as people in the industry know, these claims don't arise until after the work is complete. Could even be years down the road. That completed operations language could be really, really important for property owners, general contractors, or anyone on the job who's responsible after the work is complete. And as a subcontractor, you may be asked to provide it. Sometimes it's not as easy to get. I talked about primary wording. I talked about waivers. I talked about per project aggregate. Easier to get. Sometimes completed ops, depending on the type of project that you're involved in, especially if it's new residential, and especially if it's multi-unit new residential. It's going to be really, really difficult for the carrier to achieve because they don't want to broaden the coverage on higher risk projects. If if you do have it in your policies, sometimes, if you're a commercial contractor, you might have it blanketed or quote unquote automatic. We like to use the term automatic versus blanketed because automatic means that the contract has to be in place for that endorsement to be valid. So blanketed is a little bit misleading because it's not guaranteed if you don't have a contract, but they could cost you money. So again, when you're reviewing your insurance requirements or you're looking at a contract, make sure that you know what you need to provide because this could impact the cost that you have on that job. And if you don't put it into the project cost or you don't bid it properly, it's going to come out of your profits, right? Because it has to come from somewhere. Those are the 4 endorsements that you probably see as a contract and you're wondering, well, what the heck does this mean? Again, both sides of the aisle, right? Both sides of the contract. Am I the contractor having to supply these endorsements or comply with this endorsements? Or am I the prime contractor or am I the property owner or the landlord who's at risk in the project? And I need to ensure that I have proper risk transfers, proper indemnification so that I'm protected from work provided by others. We work with both. Any questions or comments you have, you can go ahead and leave them right here on my YouTube channel. Remember, if my videos are helpful, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, notify yourself of any future videos. But I reply to all comments. I love to hear your comments. If you have any additional advice or anything you want to add to my video, go ahead and comment below. But if you have any questions, if you need our help, whether from the insurance side or the advising side of our business, give us a call. Our number is 858-384-1506, or you can email hello@foagency.com and we'll be sure to get back to you and help you. Thanks again, and I'll see you on another video soon.